Welcome back to Truth Anon. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel and share with your friends. Today we are talking again about Jay Inslee, the governor of Washington State. He is on a mission to destroy the state, it seems, as we have been through quite a bit of destructive activity since March. And the latest has been the fires. And Inslee went to go visit one of the towns in the apple capital of the world, basically. Washington, the eastern half of Washington produces about 58% of the apples grown in the United States, and about 68% of those are grown for consumption. So most of these apples are grown in eastern Washington, and they ship a lot of the produce out to different countries. So they feed a lot of the world. And one of the rules in eastern Washington is that you do not bring produce that's homegrown over to eastern Washington from western Washington. So you don't take apples. If I was to grow apples here in Seattle, I wouldn't go over to eastern Washington to Spokane and take apples. I wouldn't take any produce over there because it could contaminate the other produce if they have apple maggots. So just what are apple maggots? Well, apple maggots are lovely little things. Apple maggots are a pest that threaten the apple industry as well as many other fruit crops. They spread throughout the transport of homegrown fruit and the waste system. Common fruits it targets include apple, crabapple, and hawthorn. So the apple maggot has never been detected in commercially packed Washington fruit because we have such strict guidelines. And if you live in what's called a quarantine area where you don't take the fruit, here we go. So this is an apple maggot quarantine map. You would not take fruit grown in this part of the state to these counties. And you would not take fruit from Spokane even into these counties because this is the apple capital of the world, basically. And so Inslee went from here in Seattle and came here to eastern Washington and brought his apples. And had these apples just been regular apples, that may have not been such a problem. But according to the article, Inslee brought quite a few apples which were infested. They were tested and infested with apple maggots. So he took 7 of them to one of his friends. 40 of them went to a church, and 48 of them went to the mayor of Malden, which is a town that was destroyed by fire. So it says here, if some of those apples have dangerous maggots in them, as they did, how many of those pests are now wiggling their way into Douglas County apple orchard soil? That's the problem that the Department of Agriculture is now trying to solve. Thurston County, where Inslee lives in the governor's mansion, is under apple maggot quarantine, whereas Douglas County is not. It's illegal to bring apples to Douglas County, apple country, from Thurston County. Inslee said in an email statement that him and his wife Trudy wanted to express comfort to these communities, where wildfires had all but burned them to the ground. The communities had been annoyed that Inslee arrived with apples, of which they have plenty, because it's harvest season, and not supplies of which they are short, because they don't have water and they don't have hay for their animals, and a lot of the livestock is starving, and they don't have power. They're not looking at getting power anytime soon. It's going to take 3 months for them to get power. It's pretty bad up there. He says he regrets this mistake, and of course all the residents don't view it as just a mistake. It is definitely more than just a mistake. And his apple maggots apples were actually misplaced for a while. They were looking for them because they didn't know what happened, and here it says they've been found today. They were in a refrigerated trailer and an inspector came to get him. So there we have Dimsley doing more destruction, wreaking more havoc in Washington. And the county of Douglas County is not very happy. They posted this morning that they needed their help finding those apples that had the maggots in them because they were misplaced. They did find them, but I think this was an effort, another effort of Inslee's to basically wreck the infrastructure of the state. I mean, this could wreak havoc in the apple industry. We have no apple maggots in that portion of the state, and if there is apple maggots, there's very little apple maggots in that area. It's only a $1,000 fine, but it has very wide-reaching implications if some of those pests were to infiltrate into this the apple country. So I think that was an attack on the food industry, whether intentional or not. But at this point, we are learning what type of a person the governor of Washington is. So with that, we will end with him finally admitting today that all 58 of the fires were caused by humans in some way, after he had talked about climate change. Fancy that. Stay tuned for more truth. Have a good night.